Next up, Russ and I are going to take the A to Z challenge and share our Halloween picks of the week.
And don't worry, Hocus Pocus 2 will not be on this list.
Our recommendations of the week, everyone's favorite, but we're going to do things a little bit differently this time. Let's get into some of the ambiance here.
Feels like the Lost Boys in here now.
We are going to go through every letter in the alphabet, and we're going to recommend a horror movie based on that letter. Any other parameters that the people should know here, Russ, for this?
I look at this as these are horror movies you cannot go wrong with.
Okay.
Even if you don't like them, you won't regret watching them.
Yeah,
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Yeah, so we're going to go through these one at a time. We're just going to throw a couple sentences your way. We're not going to go into a deep review of each of these. Starting with a number and then go A through Z. And you tell us down below which of these titles you have seen, haven't seen. What would you have put in this letter?
Some of these letters, like B, you know how many cool horror films start with blood?
So we'll start with the numbers. 28 weeks later. We could have gone 28 days later, but I wanted to go with the sequel here. And in a lot of cases, sequels don't always add up to being as good as the first one, including horror sequels. And this one manages to take the material and take it in a new, interesting direction that I couldn't have seen coming, because at the end of the first one, you can almost tell like they're spinning their wheels a little bit with the story. Mm-hmm. This one takes what they had and really makes it a very interesting, detour into new territory that I think is just as compelling, just as terrifying, has similar moments of like, are they or are they not going to get out of this? So I would highly recommend 28 Weeks Later, especially if you've only seen 28 Days Later and we're like, I don't want to see the sequel. Definitely give it a try.
Audition. How would you describe Audition? How would you sell Audition?
It's tough to sell Audition because it is one of those very slow burn type of a movie where something is definitely off, but until about halfway through, you don't know exactly how off it is. So you really have to go down the line with this movie.
And that's what's so brilliant about it. I love how you just watch the first half hour. Like, this could be a romantic comedy.
It could be anything. But as soon as you see the shot with her on the phone, and then all of a sudden in the back, something in a burlap bag starts to like scream and roll around, you're like, holy shit, what am I watching?
B, the greatest Thanksgiving horror film of all time, Blood Rage.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Long story short, it is a slasher about two brothers who, when they were kids, one brother killed the father and blamed his brother for doing it. So the wrong brother went to jail all these years, and then he comes out, starts slashing people. It is comical. It knows it's comical. It has great lines like,
"It's not cranberry sauce."
C for Censor.
Masterpiece.
And Russ, this is a movie that I actually recommended to you. I had seen, and I know based on your feelings for video nasties and the films of that era, and being a horror movie centered around a censor of films in that era, I thought you might really enjoy this movie. And what were your thoughts?
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Okay.
I like how it commits to what it's doing, especially by the end, like the last 20, 30 minutes. If you've seen it, it's like we're fully in her head now.
Yeah.
we're fully, we're not playing around.
Yeah.
Like, nah, we're totally within this movie of a movie type. And I loved it.
Yeah,
I was blown away by it.
No more laughing.
Don't Go in the House is one of the meanest video nasties you will see tonally. A Norman Bates type, loner, obsessed with burning women.
Yikes.
And it's a very unsympathetic film to its lead character, who you're spending the entire movie with.
Yeah.
Think Taxi Driver or something like that. You are in the mind space of this disturbed man. And the burn victim, oh God, it looks great.
Yeah,
The
they look
horror of
frightening.
Definitely check it out. Awesome movie.
The Entity.
Martin Scorsese listed this as one of his top 10 horror films of all time.
Okay.
And this was a film that came out in like 1983 or something.
Wow. Okay.
And I was like, why is Scorsese like talking about it like this? I watched it. Incredible. It's about a woman who is actually getting like abused sexually by ghosts.
Wow.
But what's so awesome about this film, where the true horror in this film comes from, is that nobody believes her. Now, if you think about, rape culture in real life, it's mirroring that. Now, the only thing I could say that's kind of negative about this, the end of the film kind of goes into a by the numbers sort of spectacle.
Nice.
The Fly for letter F. It's a great horror movie. It's a great David Cronenberg movie. We talked about Videodrome and this, which one could be possibly better. This one has just got so much going for it, including the cast, the effects, the story itself. It's just very unsettling. There's still some sympathy that you feel for the characters involved, even through all the grossness that's happening. And I think it takes material, even though, like you said before, it's not an original idea, but it takes material and really ratchets it up in a way that makes it fresh and just as unsettling as maybe it was when it came out originally to people that watched the original Fly.
And I think it's so relatable and human because of Goldblum. I think this premise is so goddamn weird, and we all know Goldblum is a bit eccentric. He sells it within this premise. And it's a great performance and a great film.
Fun, but in no sense civilized.
Gremlins 2. Arguably the best sequel ever made.
You, sir, are a raging psychopath.
I would argue it may be better than the original, and I know that's an unpopular opinion. I love when I see a director get full carte blanche, final cut, puts his id up there, and at this point, Dante did not give two shits, and he turned it all into a Looney Tunes cartoon. He's parodied his original film because he knew there was nowhere artistically to go with it, and in doing that, he managed to make an artistic vision by having it be a statement on sequels. I mean, it's brilliant.
Maybe.
Hellraiser, another one that's not really out of left field. There could be some other H films that people would throw in there if you were going to recommend to someone, but Hellraiser's always been one of my favorite horror, I don't want to say franchises because I've seen 3 and I've maybe seen one more, but 1 and 2 are where it's at. And this is just one of those classic horror films to me that it gets the tone right where it's not fun necessarily. It is something that is tough to watch at times. The effects are makes you squeamish a little bit. Just the idea of people's skin being completely peeled off and they're still there and they're talking, like just seeing all the musculature of someone and the whole idea of we're taking you to this realm where pain and pleasure are basically synonymous and you're going to feel it's like just that sexual nature. Anytime that
Clive
kind of
Barker
stuff,
always has the S&M themes.
Like when you infuse that in, and I said that about Serbian film, when you infuse that kind of stuff into the horror, it just makes it so much more uncomfortable.
I is for a movie I know you and I both adore.
Yes.
Inside. A pregnant woman trapped inside of her house being terrorized by intruders.
Yes.
Is that the easiest way to set it up?
Yeah, and it's a French extreme horror film, but I would say that it never feels over the top to me.
It feels intense.
It feels very intense. It does feel like strangely realistic.
Yes.
I would recommend this to anyone that likes horror, likes to see something different, see something really visceral. Show this to someone you know that's pregnant. I've done that at least 3 times.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Jacob's Wife, starring Barbara Crampton. This is a modern vampire film. A woman in her late 40s, let's say, and she becomes a vampire, and she's only known as Jacob's wife. She doesn't have her own identity. She's sort of background. But when she becomes a vampire, she has this lust for life. It reawakens something in her, like, this is what life should feel like. It works on both levels, very entertaining, and in my opinion, deeper than it had any right to be.
Sounds like a drama.
I know, it does, but it's really not.
It.
I thought it was very well made, and it went under the radar a bit. I'd like to see more eyes on it.
Coming in with K. Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Holy shit.
You've seen this.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
sure.
this is a blast of a movie.
Ridiculous clowns who drink blood out of cotton candy cocoons. And if that didn't sell you, I don't know what will.
The clown creations, all of them were really unique and fun and scary,
dude,
but stupid at the same time.
My favorite one as a kid, I always laughed, was the goddamn shadow puppet on the wall.
Yeah.
And he
eats them.
Come on.
Yeah, it's great.
It's impossible to legitimately be scared by this film, but you will have so much fun with the Halloween and horror themed elements within.
Don't make no matter one way or the other.
Will you be scared by Last House on the Left?
You'll be unsettled. Disturbed, maybe walk out on it, namely due to one specific scene. 2 girls get caught up with this group of bad people. They get raped and murdered. And when the killers leave, they end up taking shelter at a house. Who lives there are the parents of the victim.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it turns into a bit of a revenge thing once the parents realize it's just so low budget. It feels real. It just, especially back then, I'm sure if you were around, it just feels very real. This movie is fucked up. And then what also makes it even more fucked up to me is the little interludes of the cops that almost have these comedic beats, which to me brings out the horror of everything else you're watching even more. One of the greatest drive-in grindhouse flicks of all time.
I heard about it.
Maniac is literally the horror version of Mannequin in a way. All right, it's
excuse me.
This is a skeezy film, very skeezy.
Very skeezy.
Tom Savini was involved. He has some great work in it. Going cold. You're either going to laugh or you're going to be disturbed, but either one of those emotions are a great thing to feel when watching a movie.
I know.
Nightbreed. Nightbreed for N. I watched this movie as a kid and was unsettled by this too. This was another one that was just a little too strange for me in a lot of different ways. And then as an adult, when I revisited this movie, it's not that it's a perfect movie, but it's got a lot of, I don't know, what do you call it? Like charm, style? Like, I don't know what it is. There's something fun about it in its twisted sensibilities. And Cronenberg makes an appearance as a serial killer, which is kind of cool.
He's the coolest thing in the movie. He's
pretty cool.
His character. I love that look and everything.
Craig Sheffer from Some Kind of Wonderful fame, who, he's the lead character. He gets called to some, like a graveyard that at nighttime, these spirits, they come out and they want him to join their ranks. They're the Nightbreed. Will he or will he not end up with them? Who knows? But it's a pretty cool film nonetheless.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the others.
Okay.
I think, again, it works. I'm a big fan of any horror film that can work as drama as well. And I think the others works. You can even take out the horror elements. And if you're just watching a woman who misses her husband at war, that has to take care of kids and the burden of that, you can watch it as that too. Nicole Kidman and her children are being haunted while her husband is off serving in the war. And there is a great twist. Great performances. I've always been a Nicole Kidman fan, and she's fantastic in this.
Yeah.
Pet Sematary coming in for P.
One of my personal favorites. It is one of the only films that actually scared me as a kid.
Unsettled the shit out of me.
And you probably know exactly where I'm going with
Spina
this.
Bifida.
Zelda. You are absolutely right.
Very unsettling. There's several scenes in that movie that I was unsettled by as a kid.
Dark material. Stephen King actually considered not putting out the book after he wrote it.
Yeah.
Because he thought this is too fucking much. Like about a child, a baby dying, getting run over by a truck.
Even how it ends. This one definitely goes hard.
It damn near goes harder than it had to.
I want to thank you for the information. I don't know what good it'll do me.
Q the Winged Serpent, which was a hard letter to come up with.
Q the Winged Serpent is a story that takes place in New York City, and it's about a prehistoric dinosaur-like creature who is terrorizing the city. You got Richard Roundtree. You got David Carradine. The effects are terrible.
I was going to say, how's the Winged Serpent look?
The effects are terrible. But that adds to it. You will have fun with Q the Winged Serpent, even when the Winged Serpent is not on screen.
You should go away.
This is a masterpiece. Reanimator is funny. Think Beetlejuice in terms of the horror comedy, but rated R. If you are a cool parent, kids can watch it. There is some nudity, but I mean tonally, it has that Beetlejuice feel.
It's just a human body.
You'll love Dr. West, man, played by the great Jeffrey Combs, and he's so fun to watch. Great flick.
Come on. Don't tell me you believe all that baloney.
Sleepaway Camp.
It's fun slasher. It's a camp slasher. I think it's more entertaining than any Friday the 13th movie.
I like the camp slasher element. I saw you could easily see like the budget that they're working with, but I felt like everything that they tried to execute on, it worked.
It does.
Everything about it worked, and it was kind of fun. And I was shocked by the ending.
Yes, I was about to say.
I was taken back by it.
I have never shown a person this film without getting an audible reaction.
And I felt this.
There has never been anybody I've seen Sleepaway Camp with, if they've seen it for the first time, where they don't like, what? Wow! Like on the last scene of the movie.
So now we're going to T, and we're cheating a little bit because I've always just heard this called Demon Night, but we're going to call it Tales from the Crypt. Demon Night.
This is the best Tales from the Crypt episode you have never seen extended into a feature. Dude, Ernest Dickerson directed this.
I don't give a fuck.
Billy Zane is chewing the scenery. You've got great actors. You got Thomas Hayden Church.
Love him.
You have William Sadler.
Love him.
Say what you will about Jada Pinkett, but she's great as the main character. This movie starts right in the goddamn first frame and does not stop. It is blast. It is the perfect Halloween film.
Under the Skin, which is not maybe your typical horror movie, but it does have a feeling of dread. There's some kidnapping and some killing and that kind of stuff from a perspective of an alien that's come to Earth in the form of Scarlett Johansson in a very wild performance and a pretty wild movie in general. But I don't know, something about this movie I loved from the minute I watched it. It unsettled me. The music, the score that goes with it, just the visuals of it. It's very trippy. It's very bizarre and strange, but I thought it was great. I thought it was great.
What I love about Under the Skin and what I think great directors like David Lynch can do is that Under the Skin gives you enough to where you don't feel cheated at the end of it, but you don't feel like you completely understand it, but you feel like you watched a narrative.
I would highly recommend this to anyone that wants to see something different.
I want you to stay away from it.
Coming in hot is Videodrome. I'd love to really share and keep my full thoughts for when we do a movie review of this when it comes out later in the month. But I will say it was incredible. The look of the film, the message of the film, some things that I just kind of like couldn't stop thinking about once it was over. James Woods, awesome performance. When we talked about The Fly versus Videodrome, which one's a little bit better? I said The Fly's like top 40 and Videodrome's like punk rock, but it's still super effective and super fun and does a great job with all the effects and the body horror. It's just awesome.
Wishmaster. Were we spinning our wheels with W?
Let's get this over with, shall we?
This is the 90s. The 90s get a bad rap for horror, in my opinion. Wishmaster at least was trying to keep the slasher genre alive, the sort of Freddy's, Chucky's, Jason's, Halloween's. I don't think Wishmaster is on that level, but it's the closest thing from the 90s. And I think it has a sense of humor. I love the cameos. They know it's ridiculous. I mean, it's a horror version of Aladdin.
Now, X I've never even heard of, Russ. Extro.
Dude, it's just a weird-ass alien movie, and this is the letter X. What the fuck are we going to do?
Good answer.
You're next. Why?
This movie was clever. I like the home invasion element. I like how the main character is presented as almost meek in the beginning, but then you learn, like, oh, no shit, she had, like, a hard background. She's actually a warrior. And the gore's fun. The setup's fun. The masks are fun. Everything. It's a fun movie, man.
Yeah.
It's like The Strangers, only you're having a great goddamn time with it.
That brings us to Z, which again is a kind of a hard one. And this is a movie that I've seen the cover to my whole life. It's so, I can see it. And you just say the movie Zombie. It's like, oh, I can just picture that zombie on that cover.
If you are like Matt and you have that image burned in your head of that cover, you're getting that. Dude, it's so creepy, that image. It's so great. The makeup's so great.
What's the general premise of this movie?
Who cares? Dude, this is a movie, you will literally get a scene where they film a zombie attacking a shark underwater. And they shot this shit for real. And they didn't have any budget with a real shark.
Wow.
Visually, one of the coolest movies ever made.
Okay. Well, we did it. A through Z. Number and then A through Z. Our A through Z recommendations of the week. I hope you all enjoyed that. I hope you all enjoyed hearing not just one or two recommendations from us, but damn near 26 of them.